I always visit the Getty Center when I have thoughts about going to an art museum. The Getty Center is one of the most famous museums to visit the United States. It houses a large collection of art pieces from around Europe and continues to collect more art. The Getty Center is well known for its Renaissance art. It wasn't known for housing art from the 20th century, but had rare exhibitions where they gathered art from the early and mid 19th century. For this video, I want to present Joaquin Sorrolla and Alberto Giacometti's pieces of art. For my critiquing analysis, I'll be going over Joaquin Sorrolla's Wounded Foot and Alberto Giacometti's Femme Debout. The stories behind Femme Debout and Wounded Foot convey important aspects for their audiences because the artists reflect their experiences into their work. To compare Joaquin Sorrolla and Alberto Giacometti, their differences overshadow their similarities. Because the majority of Sorrolla's life was spent in Italy and Spain, he became landscapist and a portraitist too, mastered capturing light in his art. Since he was born in Valencia in 1863, he grew passionate about painting at the young age of 13 and was greatly influenced by the rendering of realist images, heavily influenced by Valencian seascape painters such as Rafael Molin y Torres, among others. This meant that post-impressionists would express themselves with a renewed aesthetic of abstract tendencies and a small amount of realism that can be similar to Alberto Giacometti's abstraction with Femme Debout. Joaquin Sorrolla's paintings combine passion for the portrayal of an instant in time and light, with characteristics of Impressionism with personal touches as well. Alberto Giacometti is even a more stark contrast because of his upbringing when he was growing up in Switzerland. Most of his sculptures, paintings, and drawings possess a timeless quality inflected with historical and philosophical narratives that adopted surrealism and expressionism into their themes. A large part of his art pieces dealt with the point of human existence. He grew up at the time in 1906 that he knew that a lot of things that were happening within a large amount of pressure that was happening in Switzerland. But when he came over to be coming over to France over at Academia de Grand Chemillère, he only started learning at the age of 21. He grew to learn to blend non-Western and classical Western styles, which helped him develop a unique style. Overall, these artists brought a great cultural significance that can be reflected in their mastery of their respective practices and expression. Joaquin Sorrolla y Bastida's Wounded Foot illustrates a painting of a boy injured on the beach. It uses vivid color and fast brushstrokes inspired by Impressionism and Luminism. As a Spanish Impressionist, he valued that his paintings took most of his inspiration from landscapes and depicted his outdoor life when he traveled Europe. In Wounded Foot, it's clear that as an Impressionist, Joaquin Sorrolla y Bastida liked to relax with these paintings and use soft colors. People can recognize his painting as unique and personal since it's mostly in the vein of Impressionism at the time. In the vein of Impressionism, he was a part of the avant-garde movement, when a variety of artists pushed to innovate new art that looked past the limitations of realism. Wounded Foot catches the attention of audiences because it implements complementary colors of calm blue and outlandish brown, but it cuts off the painting, making the composition uneven. Sorrolla wanted viewers to have the same immediacy as if he or she had accidentally went into the exchange with these two children. The forefront of his paintings wanted to create a vivid look of the subject to capture the same feelings as he was on his travels in Valencia. At the time, it became one of the most well-known post-impressionist painters in Spain. Like most of Sorrolla's paintings, he liked to portray topics of social and realistic nature, which also distanced him from Impressionism that was triumphing throughout the rest of Europe. To consider Sorrolla an influential painter across the globe is an understatement, but to entitle him as a state hero in Spain is a well-earned title that he deserves, because of the great influence that he had on Luminism and other post-impressionist painters. As for Alberto Giacometti's sculptures, his influence was from the inspiration of Surrealism, and his existentialism created a personal effort to separate himself from the common artist. Femme Debout, a 9-foot tall sculpture, emphasizes more than the fragility of the human being, because it suggests a morbid and decomposing form. The reason the figure suggests the decomposition of the body is that he wanted to illustrate the dread and uncertainty of the stages after World War II. His inspiration from being expelled from the Surrealist group made an important mark in the Surrealist culture that incorporated fantasy-like vision, collage work, objects with symbolic and metaphorical functions, and a distorted treatment of the figure. His obsession with the human body led him to create an abstract expression of human form. As a surrealist, he emphasized the distortion of the figure's portions throughout its arms and legs. But the most important is that a large majority of these statues, including Femme Debout, are their narrow heads and skinny bodies. And Alberto Giacometti's expression of a series of figurines depicting women, the Femmes de Venise, are rendered with a lifelike accuracy, their somber elegance speaking to universal themes of life and death, darkness and light, divisions. The figures were created with experienced craftsmanship, conveying the embodiment of the human life through the slender and melancholic nature of his obsession with the female nude. Alberto Giacometti's Femme Debout illustrates the meaning of existence is temporary and beautiful. At the same time, it could be painful because of the fears of the uncertain future. All artists have several influences from their family, friends, and other people around them. But the most important aspect that the influences the most is the discourse of their survival and passions that drive them to create art for others. These artists impacted the world through these different expressions and reasons. Joaquin Sorrolla's paintings that had a mastery of light brought cultural significance because they represented the social expression of Spain's culture. Alberto Giacometti painted since he had an interest in the human body and slowly grew accustomed to the Surrealist movement during the aftermath of World War II. In these instances, art is subjective because it reflects a person's experience and truth that can be only conveyed by the artist itself. But the most important aspect of making it is when that artist communicates their reality. As Alberto Giacometti once said, the object of art is not to reproduce reality, but to create a reality of the same intensity.